Everybody, welcome back. If you see this logo, you know what time it is. It's time for more Rails, and I'm sure you're all super excited about that based on the feedback I got earlier this semester. We're going to be doing some unit testing in Rails today. Nothing too crazy, but it's obviously worth talking about because it's a great backend language to be using, and you're all going to love it. Not too bad. So I've got a link to the Rails testing guide. So obviously, the Rails published a very nice comprehensive guide for doing all their testing. Um, we are gonna, again, focus mainly on the unit-based testing. There is a whole plethora of testing strategies available for you with Rails. There's parallel testing, so if you're using threads or other processes, system level testing, doing model-based testing, view-based testing, all different things that you can do. We're going to focus on the simplest one, which is just making sure that our base units of functionality work, as is the same with all of the other languages we've looked at this week. But if you are going deep into Rails for a job or for a project, I would highly recommend going deeper into testing with this as well, because it will save you lots of headache and heartache down the road. But with Rails testing, so I'm going to go ahead and kill the server now. Well, kill the process running the server. You get tests defined by themselves once you create a new Rails app and your basic controller and all that fun stuff. So what we can do is ls-f test, and we're going to get every file and folder related to testing. So here we see application system test case, test helper. Here are a bunch of folders which are going to be related to testing. We're going to be looking in the models directory to just kind of follow along with the guide, but there are other things in here as well. So testing controllers, if you need information about your tests, the mailers folder will be helpful. So you might get like a Linux system message. You could send an email out. You could add in scripts to push it to a cloud function, which then notifies you whatever you want to set up. But the point is that we can get all kinds of testing related things in here. Now, what we're going to look at is the test folder, or sorry, the models test folder. Now, I have already run this for this application. So basically, we generated a model, which the model will have an article type with a title and a body. Think of creating any blog ever, right? So title, body, don't need an author or date or anything like that, just a simple setup here. And we're going to get an app, and then we'll get some test fixtures as well. Now, I don't know if you noticed this before when you created your Rails applications and the various models and views and all that, but we did get test folders created with that as well, and we didn't do anything with it before, but now we're actually going to take a look at it. So our model that we're going to look at here is test models, article test.rb. Okay, so this is going to import the test helper script. And again, this is all going to be in Ruby. And we have a default test case inside of this file. Now, this is going to be, this would be our test suite, which will have a collection of test cases. Test cases are going to be designated by test and a title. And then we're going to run whatever test case we need to in here. So the default one that you're seeing in front of you is literally return true. So this is our hello world test case. Basically, this test case is going to run. We're going to assert true. An assertion, again, is basically just a conditional statement where if it fails, it trips an assertion, your program ends, you get a big error message that's typically very angry looking, right? So I'm going to go ahead and split this off here so that we can keep our test case up and running. I've got a tmux session up, but if we were to go ahead and execute that, and again, work through this guide line by line to get a better feeling for how to write these test cases. I'm more showing you how to execute them and how they work. What we're going to do is run Rails, and then we're going to add in test, and then you're going to call whichever script you want. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get that last bit off here. Let's go down a bit. Okay, so we have run Rails in the local directory. make it do a testing procedure. Here is the test file that we want to run, okay? And what the guide had, they had a :6 after that. This is basically pointing out the line that we want to run. So if you have multiple test cases, it will go to that specific one. You can just run it by itself and it'll run everything inside of that script. So we see one run, one assertion, 0 failures, errors, 0 errors, 0 skips. So one test case passed, which we see here. Now if I were to assert false, what we're going to see is an error here. Okay, expected false to be truthy, which is an interesting way of pointing out that we're expecting this value to be true. If you're not following what's going on here, assert is checking a conditional, right? So you're checking effectively the insides of an if statement. If 1 equals 1, 1 equals 1, the value you get out of that is either true or false. So when you were asserting something, you're expecting whatever that value is in there to be true, okay? And when we assert false, it's returning false, which is going to then violate the assertion. Just wanted to make sure that we're all on the same page with that. Okay, so let's write an actual failing test case here now. I'm gonna go back to the right window. Okay, so I can add in this new test case here, and we can leave this the truth in. Obviously, it's not doing anything. It's kind of wasted time and wasted execution time. I'll leave it in to show you multiple test cases running for now. But now we have test should not save article without title. And then we're going to create a new article, and we're going to assert not, which is basically asserting false, whatever happens when we call article.save. Remember way back when you would create these things in the interpreter for Ruby, you would have to end it with .save to write it to the model, right? So let's go ahead and run this again. We should get, let's fix this one to be true so that we have a passing case and a failing case. All right, so 2 runs, 2 assertions, 1 failures. Okay, we expected this true to be nil or false. Basically, this returned true. We are expecting false. Okay, we saved the article successfully without a title. And that's basically what's happening here. So the intent would be, kind of front end to back end wise, that we have a title and a body and we submit it, and the user has submitted a new page and the title was empty. So we're expecting this to fail. Okay, but it returned true. Hopefully the logic makes sense. This should be false, but this was true because we're not enforcing the title at that point. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this default test case. One of the things with testing is you want to reduce the amount of unnecessary tests. So return true does nothing for us other than tell us that true is valid. All right, so one thing that we can do then is, well, we can fix the issue and then we can give ourselves a better error message. So the next step in the guide is that we're going to add this comma and a bit of a descriptive element here. So, oops, 2 commas, just 1 comma, please. Save the article without a title. All right, so this is all that I added in here. We're just giving ourselves a little description for what's happening. Kind of the point is that this is the error that we see here, right? It's not very descriptive. Yes, we can see the line number that it failed on, but I don't really know what that is. Keep in mind, you're probably running hundreds of these at the same time, right? You're not just running one. A better description is going to save you a lot of time and headache later on. So we run this again. Oh, we save the article without a title, of course, right? Not necessary, but helpful. Keep in mind, it might not be you running these test cases. It could be your test department. It could be a coworker or the intern who doesn't know the layout of the code base, right? Could be anybody. You may or may not remember it 12 hours in the future as well, right? Okay, so if we wanted to go ahead and now check to make sure that we do have a title, well, let's add in a little validation. All right, so I'm going to add in a little subclass here that we are going to validate the title and require it to be true. Then when we call article.new and assert, we should have a nice passing test case here. Okay, so everything went fine. Basically, we are ensuring that that title is there. And if it's not there, we are going to fail. So we're kind of stubbing our article creation here. Okay. And then after that, it kind of gets into error messaging. It gets into parallel processing at this point. There is a nice table of assertions here that you can use in your test cases. Um, Everything that we did in Flask and the other technologies, it was kind of up to you to define. Yep, pop up here, pop up here. That's how many reminders I need in my old age. Um, Ruby gives us a list of assertions that we can use. So assert equal, assert not equal, same, not the same, nil, not null. So again, you can kind of script through these and see which assertion makes sense, right? Is this field null? Is this field empty? Is it alphanumeric? Does it match this pattern, right? You can use any and all of these, and you can ensure that it fails. Maybe this test case isn't done being written yet, but you still need to handle it because the rest of your test case need to run. So I will kind of end here because that's a nice little intro. After you write your first test cases, you can get into creating test runners, which will basically execute, a number of test suites, maybe in a particular order. You can start getting into mocking and, again, lots of different strategies for testing. This should at least get you up and running with the basics. So, other than that, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in our next video. Bye, everybody.